This is Daryl Willis. Yeah, this is my
Water in there?
second channel that I made back in, I don't know, 2000, I don't know, 4 years ago or something. My original channel is DVincentW, which has been around since April 2007. But this is just sort of a side channel. I initially made it because when I logged into my channel, it said that I had to make another channel, which was just like, what is going on? And this was about, I think, 2011 or something. But I'm just posting this on my properly named channel, although DVincentW is my name. Part of my real name. Vincent being my middle name. I'm just sort of gonna vlog here. I'm watching Walking Dead in this fourth season, near the end of the season. Going back over the highly complicated character development, very intricate emotional roller coaster that the show is. I have very high regard for the writers and the actors and a lot of the people that worked on it. Although there are some limits to the show. One of the things that I've noticed, The Walking Dead, is the areas of travel always look the same. They're always the tree-lined roads and that highway, that segment of highway that they've used repeatedly. My situation, where I am right now in the series, is the prison had gotten hit by Brian, or the governor, or whatever you want to call him, and Herschel was beheaded, and everybody had to leave because the fence perimeter got destroyed by the tank. And they're all just separated. Carl is with his dad, Rick, Sasha, and that group are a different place. Tyrese and Carol and the two little girls. Maggie's with Sasha and that other guy who is a vet. And they're starting to find out about Terminus. Now, I know this is going to seem long-winded and boring, and I really don't care. I'm not making this video for ratings. I'm not trying to get anybody's attention. I'm just doing it because I fucking want to do it. I like doing this. The zombie element, when it's done in the George Romero style, is that the relationships between the people caught up in this situation are very important. Okay? It's not like, oh, my brother gets killed, get bitten, or has a heart attack, and they come back, and I'm just going to shoot him in the head so he doesn't eat me. That doesn't work that way. The person is attached to this person in their family, or this deep friend, this important person, and that is very difficult to do, to in action, murder the person you love, even though they're not in there anymore. Their eyes are white, or they're black, or they're all fucked up, and that person's not in that body anymore. I praise the show, and a lot of the set decoration is really good. I mean, you're able to really get a good idea that it's, by the fourth season, I think it's been about 3.5 to 4 years since it started. Maybe something like that. So, I mean, these locations that they chose and the dressings that they did, with the burned out cars and this and that, and the various houses that they have to go through, it's just really great. And there's always walkers, zombies peppered in through the whole environment, and there are herds of them, which is really, I think once or twice I've heard, a remark about, how bad they smell. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, it's really horrible to get a whiff of a rot, a dead animal on the side of the road. I mean, can you imagine, like, 500 or 700 of these corpses walking around? That's a smell that you... So, scavenging, finding ammunition, operating weapons, finding a safe place to be. The finding a safe place to be is something I really identify with. And there's a lot of character motivation, not just for basic survival, but you care about these people because they really portray them as human, compassionate people. They're not barbarian people, and it's really illustrating that the people that could survive in this situation are most adept at caring for each other. And that's not always been done in a lot of these fictional works. It's all just action, explosions, airplanes crashing, this and that. This isn't, this show isn't written that way. And I love the way, it really, all the characters are really compelling. Even the ones that are just there for a season, and they're so well written. It's like if you find that this person is compelling and you want them to live, they cannot make it. It's always a possibility. So, I'm an old school George Romero. I mean, when I was a kid, I got to watch Night of the Living Dead, the black and white 1968 film. I used to go see Dawn of the Dead at midnight movies, in Beltsville, Maryland, or whatever. And I'd after the theater, leaving the theater, and I'm like thinking, what happened after that? After the helicopter took off, with the pregnant woman and the two people left, what happened after that? Day of the Dead kind of goes into that in 1985. Day of the Dead, filmed down in Punta Gorda, Florida, and also filmed up outside Pittsburgh at an underground storage facility. They would make it look like those two places are one place. That goes into that, but it still ends with them on an island. What happened after that? Romero is great because he really put a lot of satire and social statements, in his works. In the Day of the Dead, there was you had the military, the National Guard guys who were bullying the scientists, and the scientists, were trying to do their research on how this weaponized, human zombie thing has started, and they end up, imploding because of, macho bullshit and whatnot. Choke on them, and they remade Night of the Living Dead in 1990 because Night of the Living Dead was not copywritten. The prints that were put out in 1970 or 69, they didn't have the copyright on the screen, and so people just copied the film, and was shown in endless drive-ins at midnight movies, and it never, George Romero and none of the people that worked on the movie never got any money from that. So, they remade Night of the Living Dead in 1990, and Tom Savini directed it, and George Romero, and it's a great movie in and of itself. It goes back to, when it started. And then you have 2007's, I think he left it alone for the 90s, but 2007 he did Land of the Dead. Then he did Diary of the Dead, and Diary of the Dead. Land of the Dead is more like living with the situation. It's filmed on the Pittsburgh Peninsula, and there's basically a huge walled-in city surrounded by water on three sides, and there's the rich and there's the poor, who live in the streets, and the rich live in this big high-rise, and that's an interesting way. So he keeps going back and forth from, showing how it starts and then living with it. But The Walking Dead just totally opens that up. I mean, because you've got, a season is like 16 episodes or 12 episodes. So it's, you can extrapolate and develop characters very meticulously and give attention to a lot of the things that motivate them, and their relationships are all intertwined. And it's done in a very well. There are some points where it gets kind of, because it's so it's so keeled up that when it takes steps back and take a breath, you have to be ready for that tempo of the series. It's going to have lulls in the action. I mean, you can't just sustain a series on action. It's just not going to work because there has to be substance. There has to be nutritional value in the thought that goes into a show. And this show has very good, high nutritional value. Anyway, thank you for watching my video. I'm really just doing this for my own entertainment. I hope that you appreciate my point of view, and you might have learned something that you didn't realize before. Watching these kind of movies from an intellectual and a critical standpoint, very little gets past my sensibilities. I really pick up on a lot of things that directors do. And so there it is. This is Daryl Willis. Thanks for watching this lonely channel. That's the way it goes. Stay scared, as George Romero said. Thank you. Bye.
Hope you enjoyed the show, assholes!
You got a damn mouth on you, you know that? What else you got?